Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing what we think of the Tories' attitude to recovering votes after the second round of their leadership contest with Mike Galsworthy of European Movement UK, a pro-EU advocacy group, which is now, of course, firmly focused on countering Brexit here in Britain. If you'd like to join, there's a link in the description below. I've even heard I can't remember, but some people saying it's probably in the Telegraph, almost certainly in the Telegraph. Oh, Kemi Badenoch, yeah, we're backing her because she's got that X factor. She cuts through to people. No, she doesn't. The Conservatives don't have anyone with charisma. Labour have very few, and the ones who do have charisma have other drawbacks as well.
Yeah, you saw the votes in the leadership contest that have just come through. It's a
no, I haven't.
inversion of what is actually sensible.
No.
So Mel Strider's out. Tom Tugendhat is kind of like...
See, they've made a mistake there. That's how thick the Tories are. See, what Patel supporters have done...
Jenrick at the top and Kemi a second. Like, the craziest dude, the sort of like Mickey Mouse...
Is he or is he pretending?
Blast that wall away. Yeah.
Is he or is he pretending? We don't know, do we? I mean, I don't think he's going to try and suddenly become a good politician. He's not a good politician. But is he as crazy as he making out? Is he pretending? Because that was always the problem with Brexit, isn't it? With the Brexiteers, when it became, as soon as the Conservative Party became the party of Brexit, you knew that there were a lot of people pretending to go along with it, and you couldn't always tell who were mad and who were just pretending.
That's it. Because for me, Jenrick isn't mad. He's just soulless.
He's just selfish. He's selfish.
It's that soullessness. The sort of grin with nothing behind it. The repeating the lines that are the winning lines because analysis has shown it's just like this non-human ambition stuffed into otherwise vacant skin.
Patel's supporters, though, this has shown that the Tories are strategically inept. Priti Patel's supporters had the ability to dump. There was James Cleverly, Tom Tugendhat, and Mel Stride. They had the ability to dump one of those out of the race.
Yeah.
If they wanted to support Jenrick and Badenoch, they had the ability, because all they had to do was switch their support. If you looked at the first round of voting, if they'd have switched their support to to Mel Stride, Tom Tugendhat would have gone out.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually seen the results as yet, although by the time this video comes out, I've already done a video on it because I will have by then. But no, that's what I was thinking. It was a test to see if they were, because the Tory leadership contest actually it positively encourages tactical voting, because otherwise you would just have one round of voting, transferable vote. You just say who's your first choice, second choice, third, and so on. That's what happens with Labour votes when we vote for our parliamentary candidates or NEC elections or even leaders. That's what happens there. We don't have like a knockout phase. That's what you would do. The reason they don't is because they know that party members will reliably vote for the craziest option, the most unsuitable option presented to them. So what they do is they try and give MPs every opportunity to present two credible choices. And from Priti Patel's point of view, they've basically, if they do support, and they will support either Jenrick or Badenoch, I thought they might lean towards Jenrick more, but apparently, according to reports anyway, it's more Badenoch. Either way, they would have done both of those a favour.
It was Jenrick more, but you don't know as people drop out.
But either way, they'd have done themselves a favour by trying to dump out. Mel Stride was not going to challenge any of them. They had the opportunity to dump out Tom Tugendhat early doors, and this was their one. This was their one chance to do, and they haven't.
Yeah.
So that just shows how unstrategic they are to me, or at least Patel supporters, because that's mad to me. You would of course get rid of a danger. I mean, this is what happened. This always happens. In 2022, you had Boris Johnson supporters backing Liz Truss to stop Penny Mordaunt getting into the final two, because they realised that they knew that Liz Truss would crash.
Boris Johnson's operation was terrifying to me in its ruthlessness and use of analytics. They called Dominic Cumming back in, and basically they made a spreadsheet of all the Conservative MPs, and they screened them by various different measures to try and predict who they would be voting for at what stages, and got pretty close to 100% right. So their internal engine on analyzing and gaming that
Yeah.
actually scared me.
Well, in 2019, it was the same thing. He also got supporters to peel off and support Jeremy Hunt because he thought he would stand a better chance than against Michael Gove in the final two.
Mhm.
So, and the way the leadership contest is set up in the Conservative Party, it basically invites MPs to vote tactically. So it's really weird if they're not. It's like, why are you stringing it out? If you're going to send any crazy, obviously unsuitable candidates at all to the members, let alone potentially two, why are you bothering with all this stringing it out? Well, you might as well just done it straight away. And if you're going to end up with Badenoch and Jenrick on the final ballot, and I'd still suggest probably we're not going to see both of those, but if we did, they will have wasted their time having this lengthy process. They may as well just got it out of the way.
Yeah.
But it'll be entertaining either way. It'll be entertaining. Because I don't think I was genuinely concerned about Suella Braverman. But she created too many enemies. She had no chance. But she is too toxic even to be leader of the opposition for my money. Whereas I think Jenrick and Badenoch will both come across as like a clown or clown-like entities. I don't think they'll do well at the dispatch box.
I mean, but Badenoch's got more going for her. Jenrick is just far too
Well, he comes across as too smart
hard.
apart from anything else. He will
Yeah,
struggle
I
from
mean,
that point of view.
it's just so generic as to be cardboard cutout stereotype, and
But Badenoch's very
he
thin-skinned.
is quite literally a sort of placeholder.
Well, none of them are realistically going to win the next election unless Labour powerfully mess up. And even then, it would be a close run thing. You'd probably end up with a hung parliament. So, but you remember back to 2001, the first time the Conservatives were trying to come back to power, and they made a net gain of one seat, even though they lost really badly in 97. And I don't necessarily think the same thing will happen this time, but it easily could.
Yeah, yeah.
Easily could.
I mean,
At the moment, none of them are facing up to
repeats
why
of
they're losing.
Ian Duncan Smith and that kind of
Well, that's
character.
how they ended up after it, didn't they? And that is because they let the members choose.
Yep,
I
they've got this
never let the members choose.
running problem with their members. Yeah,
Well, no, every party does. Every party's members are. It's like you say about the most politically engaged, but the most politically engaged are, by definition, out of kilter with most other people because you have a completely different view of politics when you're very engaged, compared with when you can't be dealing with politics and you only engage when you've got to. And there are some people who don't engage at all, but there are people who will understand it's important to vote, but they really can't be arsed with it, and they will have a completely different perspective. So you concentrate people who are politically engaged, you're not going to get people who ever sort of think about the points of view of people who don't like politics.
yeah.
So you should never let them in. They're not representative of the voters. Never mind all voters, even the voters that party's trying to chase after. And at the moment, the Conservative leadership candidates don't even know which members they're trying to chase after because they think it's Reform UK voters,
Yes.
which is mad.
It's good. There was a good piece by Timothy Kirkhope, I think it was, the Conservative Lord in the Observer last week about it's a completely wrong strategy of the current Conservatives to chase to pander to the diminishing niche vote on the right and cede the entire centre for debate between, Labour, Lib Dem, and others.
It's mad in so many ways. Mathematically, it's mad because, as we
Yeah.
know, if you can win over a voter from the person you're competing for each individual seat with, it's worth 2 votes because you've reduced their vote and increased your own. Now, the Conservatives lost 4 seats to Reform UK because the other one would have gone to Labour. Ashfield would have gone to Labour. So they effectively lost 4. So in 4 seats, a Reform UK vote would have been worth 2 to them. Everywhere else, it was worth 1. Whereas it's not just that there are more voters in the centre, which there are. That's enough reason to chase those. But all of those voters, where they're competing with the Lib Dems, are worth 2. Where they're competing with Labour are worth 2. And they're not doing that. And also it's easier because the Conservatives, by competing with the Lib Dems and Labour, Lib Dems and Labour have to present policies that will stand up to scrutiny. In Labour's case, because they want to be put to the test. In the Lib Dems case, because they're a big enough party taken seriously to be properly scrutinised. So, whereas with Reform UK, they don't have to compete at all. Reform UK can always be more extreme and sound like answers are simple.
I think that's really well analysed. That in order to compete with Reform UK, they have to go more crazy than completely liberal crazy, and the prize on offer for all of that is about 4 seats.
Yeah, it's utterly mad, and where they pull votes from Reform UK in other seats, they're just helping, because in those other seats, who are Reform UK trying to compete with? Labour, so they're just helping Labour. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing, and there will be, they need to do, what the Conservatives need to do is some proper, very, very detailed analysis, which they probably can't afford to because they've run out of money. They can't even afford to run their headquarters at the moment. They're going to make a load of staff redundant. So, and that was a problem apparently after 1997. The Conservatives couldn't afford to employ the data scientists that they really needed. But even on a basic level, in terms of, thinking it through empirically, or in terms of the polling that has been published for free, someone's paid for it, but not the Conservatives. So they've got an awful lot of information for free that could inform them that they're not using. It makes no sense. They have. So I suppose if the leadership contenders have no strategic thinking, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that the wider parliamentary party doesn't. But those results you've just sort of explained to me, I'm going to have a look at them properly tomorrow. Sounds to me like they.
It's only after they pick a new leader they can start to get back on their feet organisationally, but at the same time, they are going to have all the demands of opposition as well. It's not an enviable place to be in. And at the same time, they will be overtaken on the right by Nigel Farage, who, as you said before, needs to give no credible policies whatsoever. He just needs to be the loudest voice of opposition on social media and the media. So they're in for some really tough times, yeah.
Yeah. So, so whoever wins, no one really thinks they're going to become Prime Minister. So there's a sense in which, but at the same time, they're also not going to help the party rebuild either. You would... Even if you're a Tory MP and thinking, well, we're probably buggered for 10 years, you'd still want someone to start the process of. You'd want to be picking like a Neil Kinnock, and they're not. They're not going to.
They've got another really big problem, which is their base is old and dying.
Oh yes.
And so they're in trying to rebuild. They're not swimming with the tide, but against it. They are losing the old demographic. Dropping off, and with the young demographic coming in, it's not just that they are more progressive, it's that they are already in the youngest category being beaten by reform. The young, particularly males, who like the rowdy rhetoric, the shit posting and all that kind of stuff. Reform's already captured that, which gives them absolutely no breathing space with the youth.
No, but even like when we talk about younger voters, we even mean people who are like 60. They completely retreat. Honestly, they retreated their. Well, their core support completely retreated into people in their 60s and beyond. And as you say, and people know as well, so even if they retain all the voters they did in 2024, they don't get anywhere near as many votes because hundreds of thousands will die, just statistically. And part of the problem they've had with middle-aged people not going Conservative as much is ultimately because, well, the biggest factor is probably housing. You've now got people in their 40s. Like, you used to having to like scrimp and scave when you're in 20s because you're on the bottom of the career ladder, and you know your housing's expensive, everything's costs, and you can't save or anything. But you expect to be more comfortable in your 40s, whereas there's some people in their 40s now got a lower standard of living when they're in their 20s. And that's the thing when people talk about, well, that's why Labour need to have more social housing, stuff like that. And it's, well, I mean, there will be, but also no, because what happens then is the Tories then sell it and then they buy more voters for the future. What Labour want to do is, I mean, like my mother-in-law, for example, was Labour, and then bought her council house. All of a sudden, she was a big Conservative fan and has voted Conservative ever since. Although she didn't vote this election because, you know,
the old Thatcher trick.
But that was it. And so that's why Labour are emphasising wanting to get more people into housing, because they want to be the party that got them on the housing ladder.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, it's not a guaranteed vote for life for everyone you do that for, but it is for some people. What they don't want to do is create a load of social housing, which, I mean, basically councils do that anyways. They don't block it. It's fine. But then the Tories come back in, they sell them off cheap, don't build any new ones to replace them, and then they win those votes for life instead. So It's simple politics, really. So yeah, they've got huge problems, the Conservatives, and at the moment they're not facing up to any of them. They're certainly not discussing them publicly, and when they are discussing things publicly, they're getting it completely the wrong way around. They should not be chasing after Reform UK. They should be hoping that Labour naturally shrinks the Reform UK support by actually delivering on the things that people really care about, that they think immigration is responsible for. But as soon as those issues go away, they don't have to blame anyone because there isn't anything to blame them for.
Yep.
That's what they should be doing, and they should be focusing on challenging Labour and the Lib Dems in the centre, like you say. And it's such a standard political bit of wisdom that you need to capture the centre to win an election.
Yeah.
I mean, let them do it if that's what they want to do. Like, far be it from me to complain, but it just baffles me. I will admit though, the stupid evil is less irritating when they're in opposition, but you know, at the same time, it's also partly why I wanted the Liberal Democrats to be the second largest party, so that there could be an actual opposition. And with the Lib Dems,
certainly change the discussion in Parliament. Yeah.
Well, not so much, and you can still have that in Parliament. I was thinking more in the national media, because on current affairs programmes, they would have to give the Lib Dems a say. I can't find anything on the Lib Dems. I can look through days worth of political news on even The Guardian, which must be the most pro-Lib Dem of the media outlets.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah. Not a thing.
That's
absolutely nothing. During the election as well, I think there was maybe one article during the whole election campaign. There were a couple of comment pieces, but that's a different thing. They're commentators write about what they want.
That's how the national media really let us down. They are really not a good forum for plurality. No. It's all the two-party gladiatorial and about.
And then the noisiest bystander, which is Reform UK.
Yep.
No, it's a clickbaity one at any rate. So, I mean, this is what I raised an eyebrow when Ed Davey was throwing himself into water.
Tice is everywhere on TV, you know. Far fewer MPs than the Lib Dems, but nevertheless, welcome into all the studios.
And well, they have been before they got a single MP. They can now argue that they won more vote. They won more votes.
X% of the vote. Yeah.
But beforehand they couldn't, and they were still getting themselves. Why? Because it's good clickbait. Also, they'll know a few people, I'm sure, but largely because they know you can clip it and put it on social media. It'll get shared around.
Yeah.
because they're very good at providing clickbait. So there we are. Those are our thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.